Hi and welcome to today's video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create this carousel and image slider in Figma. As you can see, when I click on this next arrow, it's actually the image says flip and there is an animation happening. So we're going to learn how to do this in a few simple steps. Alright, without wasting time, let's get into today's video. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna give my project a title. I'm gonna call it image slider. Okay, so next I'm gonna insert a frame, but I'm gonna make sure it's set to this desktop size, and we're gonna select the iMac. Alright, then we're gonna give this a unique color. We're gonna give it let's give it a light blue. This will actually just act as an environment. Right, that looks good. Alright, so next we're gonna need some icons. So we're gonna make use of a plugin I've installed. It's called Iconify. Just make sure to install it if you don't have it already. Then just type in next. That gives you different options. So this we're gonna use for navigation. So just drag that. We need a copy of that. Then this comes inside in a frame. We don't need the frame. So just drag it out of the frame and then delete this frame. Right. So there we have our next icon. Right, so we're gonna resize it, not too big, not too small. So we're gonna place it right there. Right, then we're gonna give it a white color because that's the best way to look. So we're gonna duplicate it by holding Alt, and then we're gonna flip this around. Just flip it by 180 degrees. Right, so it faces the other direction. Right, so just make sure they're actually in line. Okay, that actually looks okay. So next we're gonna create a skeleton for our image slider. So we're gonna drag this. So we're gonna making use of the rectangle shape right there. Right, so we're gonna make sure this is centered. Right, so that actually looks okay. Then we're gonna give it a stroke. Give it a stroke of 5. Then we're gonna remove the fill. So this is just gonna act as a skeleton. Okay, so we're gonna duplicate this. Just duplicate it by holding Alt. But before we do that, to make it easier, let's just put back the fill. So we're gonna duplicate by holding Alt. Then we're gonna resize the next one. Just hold Shift to make sure that you actually maintain the shape size. Right, then we're gonna place it right there. Then we're gonna duplicate this and make a copy of it and place it right to the left. Okay, so we're gonna duplicate this again, hold Alt, then we're gonna resize it again, something a little bit smaller. Okay, right there looks fine. Duplicate this. Right, so just make sure it's slightly in. Right, that's actually looking okay. So just select all of them together, then we're gonna resize them all. Okay. So that's actually looking okay. Right, so next we're gonna remove the fill from each one, since they're just gonna act as skeletons as a background for our image slider. So remove that. Right, so next we're gonna duplicate this. So just duplicate this big one, the big one. So just duplicate it by holding Alt. It's actually easier to do when it has a fill. So let's give it a fill and then let's duplicate it that. Then let's remove the fill again. Right, so these are just gonna act as skeletons. Right, so having made a copy of this, so now we have a copy of this right here, and then we're gonna insert some images inside here. Okay, right, so we're gonna make use of a plugin I've installed. It's called Unsplash. It allows us to insert images into our work. So I'm just gonna look for images of models. So I just search for different models. So there are very many images to choose from. I'll choose this. Just make sure that it's selected so that it actually just fills in. Right, so that's looking okay. So we're gonna duplicate this by holding Alt. Then we're gonna insert another image of another model. So just we're gonna scroll through until we look for an image that will actually match. So I like this. duplicate this again, holding Alt. Then we're gonna replace that with this. Right, looking good. So we're gonna replace this, just duplicate that also by holding Alt. We're gonna make another selection. So there are many to choose from. So we're gonna select this one. Then we're gonna duplicate it one more time. And then we'll select one more. We'll go with this one. Okay. It's actually looking good. So we want to just crop this a little bit. Crop that. Just want to make sure it actually fills the image slightly better. Alright, that looks better. Alright, so we're gonna change the stroke colors to white. So we're gonna do that for each one. Change the stroke color to white, or FFFF. That's how it's actually labeled. Those are the coordinates. Change this to white. Right. So that's actually looking fine. Then we're gonna give our images names. We're gonna call this one 1. We're gonna call this. So it's very important to label them. We're gonna label this as 3. This is going to be 4. And then this is gonna be 5. Right, so next we're gonna place our images onto our shape. We're gonna begin with this first one. So as you can see, the dimensions are 167 by 221. So let's resize this to 167 by 221. Right, so we're gonna place this right on top of that. So that's actually looking fine. It has actually fit. So we're gonna do the same thing. So this is 202 by 267. So we're gonna change this also, 202 by 267. We're gonna place it right there. Right, so it actually fits perfectly. Now this is actually just the perfect size. It's actually the same size as the main part of the skeleton. So that doesn't need to be resized. So also gonna change this. We just wanna make sure it's also the same size. So this is 202 by 267. 202 267. Right, so we're gonna place it right there. So actually it fits perfectly. Right, so lastly we're gonna place this 167 by 221 is the size we need to put to 21. Right, so we're gonna place it right there. Right, so they actually fit perfectly well. Now next we just want to make sure that this image at the center is actually right at the top. Then this can go to the back. So you just want to make sure that everything is actually organized well. So that actually looks fine. The skeleton actually has helped us make the work a little bit easier. Right, so next we're going to duplicate our first frame. I do that by clicking Ctrl D. Then what happens is I'm going to be swapping different images for different positions. So I want to make sure that when a user clicks on this icon, that actually this image, the images will actually rotate, but in this other direction, moving towards the left. So for that to happen, we're gonna be replacing this. So this is gonna move. Sorry. So this is gonna move. It's gonna be repositioned right there. Okay, then we're gonna have this moving right there. So these dimensions actually help us. So it's gonna be 167 by 221. So we make those changes until, so this will now fit perfectly there. Right, then we're gonna resize this now and move it. So it's gonna be 202 by 267 in size. Right, so it's gonna move towards the left. Then this is gonna come towards the center. So the center piece is 263 by 347. 263 by 347. Right, just make sure it actually fits perfectly, and the skeleton is actually hidden. So when I zoom in, actually I just need to move it towards the left a little bit. That actually looks fine. Right, then we're gonna bring this to top, so just bring to front. Right, so here we're gonna make some changes again. So we're gonna move this to the back. then we're gonna move this, sorry, then we're gonna reposition this, so this actually comes to this side. So we're just gonna resize it to 202 by 267. Right, as you can see, we're gonna be doing the same thing. So we're gonna go to the next frame, click Ctrl D, then we're gonna make the same changes where images, replace, and move towards the left. So I'm gonna speed up this video, but just follow along. Alright, so that actually looks fine. We've actually finished doing that. Right, so next we just want to make sure we hide our skeletons. So the rectangles would actually just made in each one of them. So just gonna select, sorry, so just make sure to hide the view. So we're gonna do that for each and every single frame. Just make sure to hide the views. We don't need them to be visible. Okay, so do the same thing for frame 3. Right, frame 4. Since we no longer need the skeletons, everything is actually in position. Right, so looking good. So next we're gonna do some prototyping. So just go to prototyping mode. Right, so next, so we're gonna start with our arrow here. So we're gonna start with this. So just to make sure a user clicks on this, it actually moves to this next one. On click, navigate to Mark 2, just to make sure it's set to smart animation. We can have that happening in 500 milliseconds, so that's more like half a second. Right, so next we are gonna animate this. So this icon directs the user to that side, right? This directs the user to there. Okay, there we go. This directs the user to the next icon, to the next frame, sorry. Okay, something happens there. Okay, now this directs the user back to the first frame, so we're gonna drag that to the very first frame. Right, then we'll have this other small icon here. It also directs the user to the last frame. Right, so there we go, that's it. Just click on play to check out our prototype. Right, so this is our prototype. As you can see, when I click on this, you can actually see the changes happening, and that's basically how I would create this image slider and carousel. So I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, just feel free to tell me below in the comments, and then feel free to leave a like because it allows the video to be promoted. And then if you're new to this channel, I encourage you to join in by subscribing, and then please make sure to hit the notification bell so that you get updates every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye.